If Ambassador Rice were trying to smooth over the Benghazi controversy, she blew it. Her meetings with GOP senators only raising more questions, especially the meeting with Senator Susan Collins. Senator Collins pressing Ambassador Rice about her State Department work back in 1998. Rice was working at the time on the Africa desk when terrorists attacked 2 U.S. embassies with truck bombs. The attacks in Kenya and Tanzania, killing over 200. 12 were Americans. Here is Senator Collins. Senator, nice to see you.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Now, you spoke yesterday with Ambassador Rice, is that right?
I did. We met privately for about 75 minutes, so it was a long meeting.
Did you get the sense she answered every question fully that you asked of her?
No, she did not. I asked her a wide range of questions, ranging from why she agreed as UN ambassador to go on the shows in the first place, since that position, like Secretary of State, is usually above politics and not involved in campaigning, to more detailed questions about why she blamed the attacks on the video, why she said there was a protest when there wasn't. It was really a wide-ranging discussion.
Was her inability to answer some of the questions, did you get the sense, and I realize it's just sort of a sense that she didn't want to answer them, or that she didn't have the information, or was there some other reason?
Frankly, I found her to be very defensive and not very forthcoming. I asked her, for example, why she maintained that it had been a protest that evolved into an attack when the president of Libya had been on right before her and had said that they'd already arrested 50 people, that they were extremists, that they were people with ties to Al-Qaeda, that some of them had come from Mali, and that it had been a premeditated attack. And her answer to that in particular was really unsatisfactory. She basically said that she thought our streams of intelligence reporting were superior. And when you think that the president of the country is telling you that it's a terrorist attack, you would think that would cause you to at least pause and think about what your other intelligence was saying.
Do you think that when she appeared on those 5 Sunday shows, was she appearing as a spokesperson for the government to inform the American people, or was she there as an advocate for political reasons?
That's really a key question. I believe that the White House asked her to come on because they felt that she would emphasize the points that the Obama administration wanted emphasizing. And that's what's discouraging to me. I don't think it's a coincidence that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton declined the opportunity to go on those shows. I think she realized that the Secretary of State, and I would argue the UN ambassador, should be above politics, should not be talking about a very contentious issue right in the midst of a hard-fought political campaign.
One of the things that I think you spoke about at the press conference yesterday, when you spoke to reporters, is that in 1998, our embassies were bombed, and prior to the bombing, there were apparently the ambassadors asked for more security before the embassies. And I think there were probably 12 Americans were murdered, plus many others murdered in those 2 bombings. Ambassador Rice worked at the State Department, not as a UN ambassador, but at the State Department on essentially the Africa desk. Were you satisfied with the question she asked about what she knew in terms of any of the requests for protection or beefing up security? Because I know you asked her those questions.
I did ask her those questions. We took a look at the 1998 Accountability Review Board report on the bombings in Kenya and Tanzania. And at the time, as you indicate, Susan Rice was essentially in charge of African affairs at the State Department. This was a searing incident. It was one of Al-Qaeda's most successful truck bombings, and 12 Americans died, 4,000 people were injured, 200 people overall lost their lives. So this was an event that you would think you would remember in great detail if you were the person who was the Assistant Secretary for African Affairs. I knew from the report that the ambassador of Kenya, our ambassador to Kenya, had made repeated requests for more security, warning of the terrorist threat and the danger to the American personnel there, as well as others working at the embassy, and that those requests have been turned down. When I asked Susan Rice, she told me that she wasn't expecting a question on that and that she would have to refresh her memory and go back and think about it. She then said that she was sure she was not involved in turning down any requests for additional security. Well, those answers in and of themselves are somewhat contradictory, but I can't imagine not remembering in searing detail such a horrific attack on our embassies.
Did you walk out of the meeting with a sense that you were more likely to vote for her confirmation should she be nominated by the President for Secretary of State, or that you were less likely?
Well, I walked out of the meeting with a profound sense of disappointment. I actually presented Susan Rice to the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate when she was first nominated to be the UN ambassador. So I had spoken for her, even though I did not know her well. I was impressed with her background. She has some family ties to the state of Maine, and I actually had presented her to the committee. So clearly, I want her to be successful. I was proud of her, and yet I left that meeting with less of a feeling about her judgment and about her suitability to be Secretary of State. Now, it's premature for me to make a final decision. She obviously hasn't even been nominated, much less have a nomination hearing, but I am very troubled by the fact that she gave such conflicting answers. And she had access to much more than just the unclassified talking points. She had access to the full presidential daily brief on intelligence. So she was well informed and knew that our intelligence community felt that there were ties to al-Qaeda affiliates that were involved in the attacks.
Senator, thank you. Nice to see you.
Thank you.